First contact and invasion. The warning came on an ordinary Tuesday. Not that anyone recognized it for what it was, just a strange burst of radio signals detected by observatories across the globe, dismissed as cosmic background noise. Dr. Elena Reyes at the Arecibo facility in Puerto Rico was the only one who insisted something wasn't right. The patterns were too regular, too structured. By the time anyone took her seriously, the Eridani Armada had already crossed Saturn's orbit. First contact wasn't the peaceful exchange of knowledge humanity had hoped for. It was fire raining from the skies. Commander Thomas Shaw was halfway through his morning coffee at Andrews Air Force Base when the alarm sounded. As Chief Tactical Officer, he'd run hundreds of drills for foreign attacks, terrorist strikes, even the occasional asteroid threat. Nothing had prepared him for what appeared on the radar screens that morning. "Sir, we're tracking." Jesus Christ. The radar technician's voice cracked. Over 8,000 objects entering Earth's atmosphere. They're spreading across all hemispheres. Shaw set down his coffee, the mug slipping from his fingers and shattering on the floor. "Launch everything we have. Now." The first Eridani strike hit Beijing. The second, Moscow. The third, New York. Cities that had stood for centuries disappeared in heartbeats, reduced to smoldering craters by weapons that seemed to bend the very physics of reality. The death toll rose to millions within hours. Conventional military forces were useless against the invaders. Fighter jets exploded midair when targeted by the Eridani's energy weapons. Tanks and artillery might as well have been throwing stones. Nuclear strikes were attempted. The warheads mysteriously failed to detonate. But then something unexpected happened. Humanity didn't break. In Mumbai, a teenager named Priya Sharma led hundreds to safety through the city's ancient sewer systems, evading the Eridani ground forces. In Cape Town, retired engineer William Beakey discovered the Eridani battle suits had a vulnerability to certain radio frequencies, knowledge that spread worldwide through ham radio operators when the internet went down. They're not invincible. Shaw broadcast from a hidden bunker outside what remained of Washington, D.C. They bleed, and anything that bleeds can die. By the end of the first week, humanity had learned crucial lessons. The Eridani, despite their overwhelming technological advantage, had weaknesses. Their ships required massive energy inputs. Their soldiers, while protected by advanced armor, couldn't withstand guerrilla tactics. And most importantly, they hadn't expected resistance after their initial strike. They'd expected surrender. They'd expected fear. Instead, they found rage. Dr. Elena Reyes, who'd first identified the alien signals, now led a hastily assembled team of scientists working to understand Eridani technology from captured equipment. In an underground facility in the Rockies, they made their first breakthrough. "The materials are nothing special," she explained to Shaw during a secure transmission. "It's how they manipulate energy fields. If we can reverse engineer their shield technology, we might stand a chance." On day 12, the first Eridani ship fell. Not to military forces, but to a group of coal miners in Western Australia who'd rigged explosives around geothermal vents, timing the detonation when an Eridani harvester descended to collect energy. The explosion wasn't what destroyed the ship. It was the subsequent electromagnetic pulse created by the miners' improvised device, disrupting the ship's field generators. News spread rapidly through the Resistance's communications network. More ships fell in the following days as similar tactics were employed worldwide. The Eridani responded with increasing brutality, leveling entire regions suspected of harboring resistance. But it was too late. Humanity had found hope. And hope is a dangerous weapon. 3 weeks into the invasion, the scattered remains of world governments formed the Global Defense Initiative. Commander Shaw, now general, was appointed to lead its military operations. Dr. Rice headed the scientific division. "We need to take the fight to them," Shaw argued during the first council meeting, held in a repurposed mine shaft in South Africa. "Defense isn't enough. We need to hit their command ships." The opportunity came when Dr. Rice and her team successfully retrofitted Eridani shield technology to protect a squadron of remaining fighter jets. The plan was audacious: a coordinated global assault on the Eridani's 12 primary command vessels hovering in low Earth orbit. What became known as Operation Thunderstrike began at dawn, Greenwich Mean Time. Fighters launched from hidden runways across 6 continents. Ground forces initiated diversionary attacks on Eridani bases. Hackers deploy Elena's code to temporarily disrupt Eridani communications. Shaw personally led the North American squadron, piloting a modified F-35 equipped with reverse-engineered Eridani weaponry. As they broke through the cloud cover, the enormity of their task became clear. The Eridani command ship loomed above, a dark mass blotting out the sun, surrounded by smaller defensive craft. Remember, Shaw transmitted to his pilots, their shields fluctuate when they're firing their main weapons. That's our window. The space above Earth transformed into a storm of light and destruction. Thousands of Eridani fighters engaged the human squadrons. Despite their enhanced technology, human casualties were devastating. Of the 200 aircraft that launched, barely 40 remained after the initial clash. But they created enough chaos for Stage 2. As the Eridani flagship moved to fire its main cannon at the eastern seaboard, Shaw gave the signal. Now. 5 transport planes that had slipped through the chaos released their payloads, not bombs, but hundreds of armored paratroopers, each equipped with boarding equipment designed by Elena's team. While the Eridani had formidable external defenses, they'd never considered the possibility of internal attacks. Their ships had no internal security systems. Why would they? No species had ever dared to board an Eridani vessel. Until now. Led by Major Sophia Chen, the boarding team cut through the flagship's hull using adapted Eridani plasma torches. Once inside, they faced the invaders on equal footing. In the confined spaces of the vessel, the Eridani's superior weapons were less effective. The battle became brutal, hand-to-hand combat through alien corridors. Chen's objective was the ship's power core. According to Elena's analysis, destabilizing it would create a chain reaction that would disable, but not destroy, the vessel. They'd wanted it intact. 3 hours of vicious fighting brought Chen's team, now reduced to 17 soldiers, to the core chamber. As Eridani reinforcements closed in, Chen manually overrode the containment protocols, causing cascading failures throughout the ship's systems. Get to the escape pods, she ordered her remaining team as the ship's gravity began to fail. The Eridani, unfamiliar with system failures, fell into disarray. As Chen's team jettisoned from the dying vessel, similar scenes played out across the globe. 3 of the 12 command ships had been successfully infiltrated and disabled. 2 more had been destroyed outright by kamikaze attacks. The remaining 7 gathered their forces and retreated to high orbit, clearly regrouping for a counterattack. But humanity had won its first significant victory. As the disabled flagship drifted toward Earth, General Shaw coordinated its capture, using heavy transport aircraft to guide it to a secure facility in the Gobi Desert. "We just leveled the playing field," Shaw told the GDI Council as teams of scientists swarmed over the captured vessel. "Now we learn everything we can." Elena Reyes, examining the ship's navigation system, made a chilling discovery. The 9,900 ships that had arrived at Earth were merely the vanguard. The main Eridani fleet was vastly larger. But they'd also learned something else, something that changed everything. "They're afraid now," Elena said, decoding the Eridani communications. "We weren't supposed to be able to fight back. According to their records, no species ever has." Shaw looked out at the captured alien vessel, its strange architecture gleaming under the desert sun. "Then we'll just have to keep surprising them." Part 2. Counterattack and Reckoning. 3 months after the first Eridani ships darkened Earth's skies, humanity had transformed. Cities lay in ruins, but from the ashes rose something the invaders never expected: adaptation. The Gobi Desert facility, codenamed Phoenix Nest, had become the center of Earth's technological revolution. Dr. Elena Rice led thousands of scientists in reverse engineering Eridani technology. Using the captured flagship as a template, they developed hybrid weapons, shields, and most critically, interstellar drives. They still outgun us, General Shaw admitted during a strategy session with the GDI leadership. But we don't need to match their firepower. We just need to hit where it hurts. Intelligence gathered from the Eridani systems revealed their primary weakness: resource dependence. The massive invasion fleet required enormous energy to operate, energy they'd planned to harvest from Earth after a quick conquest. Forced into a protracted conflict, their supply lines were stretched thin. They still outgun us, General Shaw admitted during a strategy session with the GDI leadership. But we don't need to match their firepower. We just need to hit where it hurts. Intelligence gathered from the Eridani systems revealed their primary weakness: resource dependence. The massive invasion fleet required enormous energy to operate, energy they'd planned to harvest from Earth after a quick conquest. Forced into a protracted conflict, their supply lines were stretched thin. The opportunity came when Elena's team decoded the location of the Eridani's primary refueling station, a converted asteroid in the belt between Mars and Jupiter. It's heavily defended, Shaw noted, studying the holographic display created from Eridani star charts. But if we destroy it, nearly half their remaining fleet will be stranded without power. The mission, designated Operation Prometheus, would be humanity's first venture beyond Earth orbit using the new hybrid vessels. 5 ships, constructed from salvaged Eridani components combined with human engineering, would make the journey. Shaw would command the flagship, renamed Resilience. This isn't just about survival anymore, Shaw told the assembled crew before launch. This is about showing them, and ourselves, that humanity belongs among the stars. The journey to the asteroid belt took 11 days. As they approached, the Resilience and her sister ships activated the cloaking technology Elena's team had developed. Not perfect invisibility, but enough to confuse Eridani sensors. They're still using standard patrol patterns, reported Lieutenant Hikaru Tanaka from the sensor station. No indication they've detected us. Shaw nodded. Launch the mining drones. This was the most audacious part of the plan. Rather than attacking directly, they'd adapted standard mining equipment with Eridani propulsion systems. The unmanned drones would attach to the far side of the refueling station and begin drilling, placing fusion charges at key structural points. For 6 hours, the human fleet waited in the shadow of a smaller asteroid as the drones worked. Twice, Eridani patrols passed nearby, but the cloaking held. Final charge placed, Tanaka announced finally. Drones returning. Shaw took a deep breath. Initiate countdown. The explosion, when it came, was unlike anything humans had witnessed before. The refueling station didn't merely explode. It collapsed in on itself as the fusion charges disrupted the artificial gravity generators, creating a localized implosion that consumed nearly everything within a 5-kilometer radius. The shockwave hit the human fleet with greater force than anticipated. The Resilience lost power for 7 critical minutes, drifting helplessly as emergency systems fought to come back online. Eridani vessels approaching, Tanaka warned as systems recovered. At least 30 ships, combat class. Shaw gripped his command chair. All vessels, prepare for combat. What followed was humanity's first space battle. Despite being outnumbered, the human vessels had 2 advantages. The hybrid drives gave them greater maneuverability, and the Eridani were clearly shocked to find humans so far from Earth. The Intrepid, smallest of the human ships, was lost in the first exchange, disintegrated by concentrated fire from 3 Eridani cruisers. The Dauntless suffered critical damage, but managed to take 4 enemy vessels with it before its reactor went critical. Shaw ordered a tactical retreat, using the asteroid field for cover. Scatter pattern Delta. Make them chase us. The remaining human ships split up, drawing the Eridani into the dense asteroid field where their larger vessels had less room to maneuver. One by one, Shaw watched as blue dots representing Eridani ships disappeared from his tactical display. When they regrouped on the far side of the field, only the Resilience and Phoenix remained, but they'd destroyed 17 Eridani vessels and damaged at least a dozen more. "Return to Earth," Shaw ordered, nursing a wound where a support beam had collapsed during the battle. "We've done what we came to do." The aftermath of Operation Prometheus exceeded even Shaw's expectations. With their refueling station destroyed and fuel reserves dwindling, the Eridani fleet positioned near Earth faced a critical decision: retreat to their home systems or commit their remaining resources to a final, all-out assault. They chose the latter. The attack came at dawn, 7 months after the invasion began. Over 5,000 Eridani ships descended from orbit, focusing their assault on the Phoenix Nest facility they'd finally located. But Earth was ready. The months of preparation had yielded a planetary defense grid, reverse-engineered from Eridani technology, but distinctly human in its application. As the invaders descended, they met not disorganized resistance, but a coordinated global response. From hidden bases across all continents, hybrid fighters launched to engage the Eridani vessels. Ground-based energy cannons fired in synchronized patterns, creating overlapping fields of destruction. And in low orbit, the 3 new capital ships built in secret facilities welcomed the invaders with weaponry they recognized as their own, turned against them. The battle lasted 3 days. When it ended, the skies above Earth were filled with the burning wreckage of Eridani vessels. Of the 9,900 ships that had arrived as conquerors, only 17 damaged cruisers managed to break away, limping toward the jump point beyond lunar orbit. Shaw, coordinating the defense from the heavily damaged Resilience, gave an order that would be debated for generations to come: let them go. In the aftermath, as the fires cooled and humanity began the long process of rebuilding, the question remained: why allow any of the invaders to escape? Shaw's answer came during the first meeting of the newly formed Earth Concord, the global government that had emerged from the GDI. "They came because they didn't know," he explained. "Now those 17 ships will carry a message back to their empire. They'll tell stories of a world that refused to die, of a species that took their technology and improved it, that transformed from prey to predator in mere months." Dr. Elena Reyes, now director of the Earth Concord Science Division, added what they'd learned from the Eridani databases. They conquered 87 worlds before ours. None resisted, none adapted, none fought back. Until Earth. The decision to allow survivors to escape proved prescient. 2 years later, as humanity's first true interstellar vessel prepared for its maiden voyage, a transmission was detected from the edge of the solar system. Not Eridani this time, but representatives from a coalition of species, former victims of Eridani expansion who had monitored the Earth conflict with growing interest. They came not as conquerors or saviors, but as diplomats seeking alliance with the species that had done what none thought possible. Shaw, now admiral of Earth's growing fleet, stood with Elena on the observation deck of the Luna base, watching as the alien delegation's ship docked. "We did more than save Earth," Elena said quietly. "We changed the galaxy." Shaw nodded, the scars from battles past visible on his weathered face. They came with thousands of ships to conquer a world they thought was weak. And only 17 returned to tell the tale, Elena finished. As the airlock cycled open and the alien representatives emerged, Shaw straightened his uniform. Humanity's next chapter was about to begin, not as victims or conquerors, but as equals among the stars, hard-earned respect forged in the fire of invasion and tempered by the unbreakable human spirit. The Eridani had come to subjugate a primitive world. Instead, they had awakened a giant, and the galaxy would never be the same.